Now, going on to the culture part of the podcast, you have oliveranthony critique for canceling the show. Even Tim Pool chimes in. Now, oliveranthony rose to fame seemingly overnight with his iconic song Rich Men North of Richmond, which actually perhaps did some Americans good in terms of, I know public schools test scores are all-time low, even though we pay unions more and more and more money every year. They have lower test scores every year, and specifically it looks like, math, science, history. And in this case, geography, I don't know where that would fall into. Perhaps that'd be social studies when I was a kid. Now, in this case, the song perhaps provided more education than the public school system. I know, low bar, granted. But people quickly Googled, what is north of Richmond, Virginia? Washington, D.C., a place equally morally vacuous as perhaps San Francisco. And the song resonated with a lot of people, and he just exponentially increased in popularity. It was many people politically, left, right, middle, a lot of people really felt that that song resonated with them, and he became one of the most famous musicians seemingly overnight. Granted, he's been a musician for quite some time, but fascinating how Freakonomics works when it comes to economics and certain things just jumping off. Now, it looks like he actually canceled a show at the Cotton Eye Joe, which I'm pretty sure that's a song I learned when I was a child. I didn't know it was an actual place, but interesting. Perhaps correlation? Probably not. Now, it looks like he actually has some tweet videos, and he was complaining that the tickets were too expensive. Now, interestingly enough, this show was also going to be taking place apparently in a city called Austin, which is debatably part of Texas. We won't go there yet, or not today perhaps, but it is it's basically the San Francisco, Texas. Extremely expensive, very population dense. And there are allegedly some upsides. Pretty good food last time I went. So I'll go ahead and he brought out a couple videos, so straight from the horse's mouth, so to say.
I had to pull off on the side of the road and make this video. My adrenaline's pumping, man. I'm pissed off right now, and don't buy Cotton Eye Joe tickets for $99 a piece, and sure as hell don't buy VIP passes for whatever bullshit price they're on. I have a buddy of mine who's not a booking agent. He's a friend of mine. He's a full-time plumber, and I'm trying to hire him full-time as my booking agent. And he agreed to the show, I guess, without asking for what the ticket prices are. Don't pay $100 for a ticket. That's horseshit. If we've got to cancel the venue and play somewhere else, we will. I didn't agree to it, and I don't want you to pay it. So please don't. I'm just trying to get the word out now. I don't know when the event got posted, but I had to.
And it's really, come on, Elon, why does the video automatically reset and play itself twice? I heard it once, I probably don't need to hear it again. Unless it's a video about myself talking, in which case, if I have not been listening to the comments and not enunciating properly, I'd probably have to listen to it two or three times to get a sense of it. Pun on myself, perhaps. And then he also has a second rebuttal video, and these are both posted on the Twitter, or I guess now X called, by the name of Chris Burtum. I'll go ahead and play the part 2.
Alright, so I was a little pissed off, and I made that, I was a little pissed off. I was more than a little pissed off. I about ran us off the road when I saw that Facebook post, and so I pulled over. Joey and I were driving back from Maryland today, and so anyway, we've had an opportunity to sit in the car together for a couple hours after that and have a good long talk about where this needs to go moving forward. Joey and I met at an open mic in Prince George, Virginia, about 3 weeks before I blew up. Our first time on stage together was at Currituck, the show that Jamie Johnson showed up at. And so, this is all very new for both of us. I mean, he's been gigging for years. I had never gigged. I was always just playing open mics. So now that we're here, it's like everybody's been telling us that we need to book these big shows, and we've got to get all this stuff, and we've got to hire staff to do all this crap, and it's going to cost X amount of money, and it's like we end up just kind of getting stuck. It's just like I feel like I'm getting cornered doing stuff that I don't want to do in the first place. And I'm very adamant about $25 to $40 ticket prices. I think even 40 is a little bit high. So Joey and I have had some time in the car to talk, and basically what we've decided to do is we're going to keep ticket prices moving forward. Now, we do have a few more shows booked now, like Poppy Mountain Festival, Louder Than Life, all that crap. Once we get through those, everything else moves.
So the video just ends there awkwardly enough. I think he's about to learn a lesson about something in business called overhead, which is pretty much all the costs that you have, indirect costs associated with an event like this. Now, it is nice that he wants to have the idea of having a low cost per ticket of, $25. He says ideally no more than $25. Now, how could you make that price work? Well, you'd have to go with McDonald's option. McDonald's option being the only way you make money. It's a very little bit per unit, but in the aggregate, you go volume. So that price point could very well work if it's at a massive stadium. Because again, all these venues have huge amounts of overhead. I can't imagine the cost to lease land in Austin. One of my friends in the tech community, his wife is a real estate agent. I'll see on Facebook, some of these houses in Austin is basically the same price as San Francisco. You're talking $1 million for a house the size of, 2,000 square feet? Sometimes even less square footage, because it is very high demand, very small amount of, good old business 101. A lot of demand, very little supply means high prices. Right there, we just did another nice example of providing more value to public schools, or at least a little education. I'd also argue most people in DC don't know that basic economic lesson, but I moderately digress. The only way you could hit that price point is if you had a massive volume of ticket sales. Because again, not only do you have to pay for the rent, let's say you do own the establishment over in Austin, you have the rent, you have the Texas franchise tax, you have all your employees, you have their benefits, you have extra security, you have electricity, you have internet, you have sewage, water. There's a lot of costs that go into running a physical retail store, or in this case, a large public venue, or LPV, such as a concert hall. And he was saying that the $90 per ticket really isn't that bad. And I know his sample size, or where he's coming from, or his experiences, maybe he just had sticker shock, but you also have to remember, it's in a very expensive place. And it looks like his original fee was $120,000 for a 60-minute set, or 60-minute production. So the only way they can make, and the revenue, or the venue only holds 1,500 people. So the venue can't get that volume needed for the lower price point. And I do agree. I like his idea of getting the price point where every fan can afford it. But he has to think about the circumstances that will allow that. And again, it can in certain situations. And another issue is, in terms of abdicating from responsibility, he had a friend, perhaps, and again, I find in most things in life, a lack of communication usually, whether it be relationships or business, that's when bad things happen. And in many ways, I would say there's no such thing as too much communication. And in this case, his friend, on his behalf, accepted this, and they agreed to this venue. They agreed to this. It looks like his friend may have signed a contract for him. They had an agreement in place. And it's not very responsible or loyal to the fans who did pay for that to cancel it. Now, in this case, it looks like the venue took responsibility, and they did choose to voluntarily cancel it because of the uneconomic circumstances. And it looks like the venue did well look bad. They had that issue with the talent, and it's a very squirrely situation. And I believe they did perform refunds, which is very fortunate. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And it looks like even Tim Pool chimed in on this, and he's the most popular person in the world with a beanie. I can't think of anyone more popular than him. He is the brand. How he doesn't sell beanies is beyond me. I mean, that is a lost business opportunity. He sells coffee like every podcaster, of course, and I'm sure his tastes a little bit better. But how does he not have a line of beanies? Maybe he does. Maybe I'll just need to look into it for the latest update of products that he sells. But nevertheless, this is from Tim Pool's Twitter, or I guess now called X. And it says, this is Tim Pool saying, quote, "I don't fault Oliver Anthony for being inexperienced, but this whole fiasco seems to be based off his and his team's lack of understanding how shows like this work. We charged $125 per ticket at our event in Austin, and we lost money doing the event. People don't understand how expensive it is to run a venue with 1,500 people is going to be nuts. I never knew Gunna is Gunna. Can't help but wonder if that's a typo. Nevertheless, this is one of the, and of course, it's from Tim Pool's. It got 1.9 million views and about 2,973 likes. Pretty darn impressive. And Tim Pool, in terms of noise, he is much more. Of course, he owns a small business, so it makes sense for him to know some of these additional details. And one of his other comments said, "Quote: For Cotton Eye Joe, the venue, they're expecting to likely break even off the ticket sales and make some money off the booze sales. Homie doesn't seem to get it." Unquote. Which is true. That's how they could actually perhaps make a profit on it if they're breaking even with the tickets. But then again, as I mentioned earlier, there's other. Even if you're keeping your variable costs just for the specific event, such as the labor costs just for that event, the garbage pickup for that event, there are other business overhead costs that you need to factor in as well. And of course, yes, booze is usually highly profitable. I mean, I can't help but imagine going to a concert. It's always, what is it, 6 to 12? What do public events charge these days? Like 6 to 12, $20 for a little cheap, 5-cent plastic cup with some mediocre light beer thrown in there? Personally, I'm too cheap for that. If anything, I'd probably get something. I would enjoy good spirits at some type of event, but I partially digress. It looks like more and more people were upset with the situation. It looks at, like, when you go to the comments, and the comments are from the original tweet from Chris Burton. Again, that tweet in 2 days got 4.5 million views and 6,166 likes. So not the best ratio, coming in at 0.14%. But going to the feedback and going to the responses to that, you see someone by the name of Liberal, but not Left. She says, quote, Oliver's fee was literally $120,000 for a 60-minute set at a 1,500-person venue. Now he's blaming the venue for having to price tickets accordingly so they don't go in the red to pay his astronomical fee. I love this guy, but this is an absolute BS misrepresentation of what happened, unquote. Now, she got 47.1 thousand views, but only 362 likes. So not a lot of people chiming in to give her the love. It looks like ratio comes in at 0.77%, so not the best. But then you do have Chris Burton responding to her saying, quote, if you listen to the video, he explains it was an agreement made by a boomer, not him, unquote. Boomer being a pejorative term for people who are older. And his response got 42.4 thousand views, but only 306 likes, giving him a ratio of 0.72%. Which again, even if his friend did agree to it, but whether he likes it or not, his friend was negotiating on his behalf and agreeing on his behalf. So again, it doesn't make Oliver Anthony look good because even indirectly, he's breaking his word to his fans. In this case, it looks like the fans got lucky, but still, as a wise man once said, a man is only as good as his word. Now, you also have somebody by the name of Joey Marino saying, quote, no one will make any profit. Again, I love it when some people do a tweet and the grammar isn't proper, but I will nevertheless read it as they wrote. Said, quote, no one will make any profit if in his tickets are that low and venues won't be able to open to hold him. I admire what he's doing, though. It's just where can he play that can accommodate his crowd size? Unquote. Got 19,000 views and 90 likes, coming in at 0.47%. One of the last popular replies is Wilma saying, quote, I don't care. I don't like him. He's pro-Biden and a Marxist. He was laughing at conservatives, Republicans for using his music, unquote. She got 6,675 views and 50 likes. So a little bit higher ratio, 0.74%. And it's interesting to see, he did laugh at a lot of politicians. I believe Republicans were the ones using the music because a lot of the views that he's espousing are traditionally more conservative. Granted, most Republicans these days are Republican in name only, pejoratively known as rhinos. And some of them are perhaps as intelligent as a rhino, and as appealing as well visually. Moderate burn. Now, it'll be interesting to see, does this slow down his growth rate? He's growing exponentially. People are buying his music more and more. But I think most people will see his good intentions. And even though he is abdicating from responsibility, and it's not a good relationship with the venues, I I suspect it won't hurt his growth rate too much. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, though. Be interesting to see what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, so much for taking the time to tune in today. Also, I know we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of September, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget to take the time to like and comment the video. I really appreciate your feedback, whether you're on the front line of the UAW or in the corporate office at Ford. Your feedback makes the show much more interesting and is able to make me update the videos with even more data, and it really helps it, I think, make a better experience. And also, the feedback improves the show because thanks to the comments, I realized I need to actually work on my enunciation as well as my articulation and slowing down a little bit when I'm speaking. So together, we're going to make the show together that much better, and I greatly appreciate your participants. Also, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.